Hello! It's been a really long time since I've filmed anything or uploaded anything to this channel. So today I wanted to share this sketchbook that I completed earlier this year. I had a lot of fun using this sketchbook, and during its lifespan I worked on a lot of projects that I'm really excited about. So I thought it would be fun to look at my process and kind of like idea generation. These stickers are by a few different artists. I'll link them below if I can find them. So this is my front inside cover. I started this book earlier than November 2024, but this is kind of when I really got into using it, and then I finished it May 2025. This is my business card. I wrote some intentions here of what I wanted to get out of using this book. These are some tombow marker swatches. And then this piece of paper I think I got from a pen pal letter from my friend Ellen. So these are a lot of line drawings with black pen. I really like this drawing of Celeste amiibo that I have. I also did a lot of journaling in this book, so there's lots of writing, which is something that I'm trying to incorporate into my sketchbooks more. I really like this page. I love the colors in this. I also covered up any identifying information with black post-its. This is one of my favorite pages. I love the colors in this and all the little swirlies. This sketch turned into a finished collage illustration, so I'll add that here. I really like this idea. I also did a bit of research on artists that I like. So Paul Klee is an artist that I've always really loved, so I just did some studies of his work and some little sketches and then some notes of things that I like about his artwork. I think this was a drawing of a cafe that I go to sometimes to work at. And then I just drew my drink that I got. Just some little marker doodles. Again, I used a ton of markers, so majority of what I used is the Tombow dual brush markers. I've used these for a really long time and I love the colors that they come in. And then I also used these crayola supertips. I'm a big fan of these. You can get these for really cheap and they have a nice nib. That's really good for drawing and lettering. Oh, I think there's just some journaling behind this drawing. I love these wonky houses. I really like how the roof line just dips down. More notes on art making. So these are some inspirations that I was thinking about during this sketchbook. I was making a lot of textile art, and later on lots of collage, which is fun. Orange and brown is a really good color palette. It's very 70s. I had a lot of fun making this, so I drew these line drawings of houses and then I filled in the background with black posca marker, I think, and then added these white stars on top. And then for the grass I made a quilt pattern. Another artist that I really like is Clement Hurd. He illustrated Goodnight Moon and Runaway Bunny. I love the colors that are in his illustrations and just the perspective of the rooms. I put these tabs here for things that I wanted to read out, so I'll just read this paragraph here. I struggle with the thought that my best work may be behind me. I don't think that is true, but it is hard not to compare my current work to my art from the past, especially because they are so different. I think it's best to just follow what currently interests me and brings me joy. It's okay to make work that is technically easier or simpler than what you are capable of. You don't have anything to prove to anyone in regards to your skill or capability. Just make the work that you find fun to make. There is no point stressing out trying to make impressive work. That is something journaling has taught me. It is more about the journey and the experience you have making the work than the end result or what others think of you and what you create. And that's something that I'm still thinking about a lot with my artwork. It's just kind of like a recurring theme. These are all observational drawings of just some like art supplies and glue, erasers, pencils. I really like doing observational drawings if I'm kind of stuck on what to draw as like a warm-up exercise. Something else I was doing in this sketchbook a lot was drawing with like 2 different colors of marker. So I would block in the shapes and then add details with the secondary color. I think this was some brainstorming for Christmas gift ideas. I was making these felt bookmarks a lot. This is an example of what I'm talking about. So it's very similar to this sketch here. And this is just felt that's been appliqued with a bunch of embroidery thread. I was going to coffee shops a lot to do drawing at this time. I really like these. I think they're really cute little logos. They would make cute stickers. And now we can see me getting into collage. I was crazy about collage during this time. So this page is all cut paper. I think there's just like one color of pink, and then I used this graph paper to add details and just kind of layered them. Really fun. I think I really didn't like this page when I first did it, but looking back, it's cute. I like the color palette, and I like the folky kind of aesthetic. Always true. These were pieces of paper that I drew over top of with posca marker. These drawings are from a Scribble Brigade, oh my god, it's so hard for me to say, Scribble Brigade session from Sophie McPike. So she's an artist, and I really look up to her work. She hosts these sessions where you do like drawing exercises on a live stream, and I really recommend them. I get so much out of the sessions with her guidance. And so I think started with one color and then drew these scenes. We would add like 2 colors, 3 colors, and I think the palettes were all randomly chosen. And then this was some longer timed drawings. I love these. I think these are so great. I love the colors, and I really like how I was able to depict like space with so little detail. I think this one's my favorite. I just glued in some ephemera from my day. I was also thinking about like pixel art and how it relates to needlework and weaving. I think that's a really interesting concept and something I want to explore further in the future. These are just some pen drawings. And then here I was experimenting with how I can draw the same scene using 2 colors, 1 color. What is this? Collage and posca marker. This page was an experiment using fountain pen ink to paint with. I also used a glass dip pen, and this is the ink that I was using. It's Citrine by Monteverde, and I love this color. It's kind of like this burnt orange. But what I really liked about this was how the ink kind of pools in areas, so you get this really interesting shading. These are more fountain pen ink experiments. I think this is Monteverde Moonstone, this color here. And then I added some details with tombow markers as well. This is really messy, but I really like it. More collage, and then kind of carving out shapes with posca markers. I think this is mostly tombow on this side, and then posca. Maybe, or no, I think this is all water-based marker on this side. Garlic. I really love garlic, and I love the idea of the scapes being all wispy and curly. These are stamps that I kind of colored in. And this drawing is Rover from Animal Crossing. I think this was inspired by a piece of fan art I found online. And I really had fun like blending the colors. It's not something I usually do with markers, but that was a fun little drawing session. And I think I was exploring that a bit more here. So this is all tombow marker, and I just kind of like layered colors, blended, did some outlining. Lots of fun little folky imagery. This was a metallic marker here. Kind of a fun effect. This deer ended up in a finished illustration. So it was a drawing that I did that I turned into a collage. And then I think these were cut out with a punch just to fill up the page. I was suffering from migraines at this time, not fun. I really like the color palette on this page, and then I was exploring different palettes on these little pieces of paper, and then it was kind of fun to add like names for each color. I think that would be a really fun job, like naming paint or nail polish. Bit of collage and a quote. This page is really pretty. I like the colors. It's not something I would usually go for, but I like it. I bought some Midori notebooks, so I just glued in the packaging, some watercolor swatches, and then this page was really fun. I like the line work, and I really enjoyed making the title. Again, I was exploring collage, so this is a combination of collage and drawing. The grid paper is glued in, and then I drew shapes all around it. I was experimenting with cutting out shapes where you fold the paper and then cut out one side and you get like a symmetrical cutout. I also wanted to read this. I don't want to cater my creativity to making others interested. I want to be honest in my own excitement, following inspiration I find. I want to enjoy the process and feel free in shifting gears or going down rabbit holes. If as a byproduct others like my work, that is great, but it's not the end goal in my habit of making things. This was a phrase that I was thinking about at the time, endless beautiful things. Maybe I'll do something with that, but for now it just lives on this page. This was from a brainstorming session with a friend at a coffee shop. I just kind of covered up the information, but I really like the drawings on this page. The pink here is done with a highlighter. It's so bright, but kind of fun. This motif is something that I used in a lot of my collages, so I made a stencil and then just kind of repeated it in a bunch of different places. Garlic. This is back to the garlic scapes idea. I think that's so funny to have them in a bow like that. I'm gonna read this paragraph here. It says, I swear I'm drawing the same symbols and motifs I have been drawing for around 10 years. Yet how I am representing them shifts over time. It's fun to think about new ways to document visual information through different media. I think that is one reason I really like keeping notebooks. They are like time capsules that I can flip through. It's like having an archive of all my past selves and what was important to me at that time. I am glad it has become something habitual. I think everyone should keep a notebook. This turned into a collage. I'll add that here. I never really finished this list, and if I'm remembering correctly, this was an extremely stressful time, so I covered up the journaling because it was mostly just venting, but I really like this window drawing I did. I drew some flowers that I got and just kind of documented my day on this page. I did like what I was drinking, what I was listening to, the supplies that I was using to draw with. The end of this sketchbook gets a little bit sparser as I go, and I always have the inclination to like go back and fill up pages like this, but I want to just move on and like work in a different sketchbook. So that's that. This was an idea for a textile piece that I made. Actually, I didn't make it, I didn't finish it, but this was like the concept, and then I glued in, these are actual fabric swatches. I just glued them in using Mod Podge, and it worked pretty well. What's this? This was a sketch for an animation that I made. If I can include it here, I will, but it's on my Instagram. I got some new mild liners. Just some doodles, and then this is a plant animation that I made. I really had so much fun with that. So it was all collage, and then I took photos of it and animated it digitally using the photos. And I'm gonna read this paragraph. Something I learned about myself is that I have a certain way that I like to approach new media. I like to look at work done by others, think about the steps that they took to make the work. Then I try to do those steps myself without researching any techniques. When I'm done, that is when I will look into troubleshooting any issues I experienced during my process. This might not be the most efficient way of learning new skills, but I find it to be fun and kind of develop my own techniques and approach. I actually wrote something very similar in a recent journal, and yeah, I think I like going into new mediums without a ton of information, but just kind of go by intuition of like if I've used something similar in the past, and then based on my experiments, I'll go more in depth with certain techniques, or if there's something that I really want to achieve and I'm not sure how to. These are more observational drawings, just in paint and ink and glue. More doodles, tracing stencils that I made. This fish is really fun, and I really like this color palette. It's kind of unexpected, but it's very calming. This is a maidenhair fern and bleeding hearts, two of my favorite plants. I really like this quote, "I need to take a bite out of everything I love." This is so true. This ended up as a finished collage illustration. I'll put that here. We had a bleeding hearts plant outside my house in our front garden growing up, and I've always really loved that plant. I think it's so silly that it's just heart-shaped flowers. And that's it. Yeah, so this sketchbook ran from about November 2024 to May 2025, which is pretty good. I don't think there's a ton of pages in these sketchbooks, but I really enjoyed the process of filling this out. In the past, I've kind of focused on making my sketchbooks more like finished artwork, and in this one, I feel like I really was able to like work through different ideas and come up with interesting concepts that led to finished artwork, so that's been really great, and it's something I've continued doing in more recent sketchbooks. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out my other videos, I usually do like journal flip-throughs, sketchbook flip-throughs, and just kind of thoughts about creativity and being an artist. Oh, and I also post my art on Instagram. I'm way more active on Instagram than on YouTube, so my Instagram is just the same as my YouTube username, so if you want to check that out, I would really appreciate that. Okay, I'm gonna sign off now. Thanks. Bye!